Welcome to the very first Squirrel Punch on the OGSoG channel. Hi, Lasercorn.
What's up, Joven Shire? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I tweaked my back
I was
recently
gonna say,
because I'm an old man.
I know you're not doing fantastic because I talked to you before this.
I took some ibuprofen, and it's not doing anything. I don't know. I just don't know how to cope as an adult with who has to hold a baby all day.
Have you tried healing crystals?
No, I should probably try some like vapors or something.
Yeah.
Vapor, some essential oils.
Yeah.
Is that how those work?
No,
I don't know. For those of you that found this on OGSoG, over on my channel, there were a couple episodes of a little mini podcast called Squirrel Punch that Lasercorn and I decided to randomly do every now and then. This won't be like an every week thing here on OGSoG, even though Lasercorn, I think we've been kind of consistent with episodes, haven't we?
Fairly. I think we missed last week, huh? I think
we might
last
have,
week there was nothing up on Tuesday.
Essentially, Lasercorn and I like to watch Marvel things, superhero things, just good TV shows or movies, and no one else watches them as fast as us, so we like to geek out about it.
We watch a lot of the same stuff. The Boys is coming back. That was one we were both
I think
watching.
The Boys, as of recording, is tonight at like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and 11 p.m. or something.
Nice.
So the Boys are back in town, so maybe that'll be the next Squirrel Punch. But today, as our first OGSoG Squirrel Punch, we're jumping into the world of wars, the Star Wars. Lasercorn.
Such a corny intro. We're watching Obi Wan, and I noticed something about Obi Wan. I don't know if you noticed this, but the episodes aren't named. Like if you watch Barry, the episodes will be named, right? It's the one with the this or that. They're just called like part 1, part 2, part 3.
It was the same thing with Mando and Boba Fett, where it's just like chapter 1, chapter 2,
but
chapter 3.
I feel like that's a really missed opportunity because they did part 1. They could have done part 1. Obi Wan.
It's so good. Before we jump into the spoilers of everything, and just keep in mind we will be talking about spoilers today. I am noticing this trend that I don't think I like on Disney Plus, where they have just given up on titles in general. Let's look at the Marvel and Star Wars shows. Mandalorian, that's the name of the guy, he's Mando. Book of Boba Fett, that at least has the book of at the start of it. But now let's go to Marvel. WandaVision, just the 2 characters' names. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just the 2 characters in it.
Is kind of like Loki? A play on something, though, isn't it? Like something Vision. I don't know.
Yeah, but then just they carry on that trend of just names. Loki, Hawkeye, like they're just all names. Dr. Pole, I know that he's not in the Marvel universe, but still, it's on Disney Plus, and it's just the person's name.
I don't know what Dr. Pole is.
It's like the best veterinarian show you could ever find. There's like 17 seasons. Anyways, my wife's really into it. I don't want to get too far away from Obi Wan Kenobi, but
let's get back to
even on
Obi-Wan.
Star Wars, we're getting Andor, we're getting Ahsoka. Just give me a name. I guess they did announce some new shows. Skeleton Crew.
Just give me. When you say give me a name, you mean create a proper name for your show? Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with the episode names. They can do better.
What is Skeleton? Let's not get too far away from Obi Wan. Yeah, let's talk about Obi Wan before we wander off topic as we so often do.
So as this comes out, episode 4 is officially out. We are recording this as of just watching episode 3.
Correct.
Yes.
And so the first 3 episodes, well, why don't you start, Joven? How are you feeling about these first 3?
I immediately loved this show more than I think any of the Marvel shows. And this, I feel like this might be the most decisive, controversial episode of Squirrel Punch, where Lasercorn and I might be on opposite sides of the coin here. I think when you watch a Marvel TV show, it feels like a murder mystery. You're just along for the ride. It's kind of homework, and you really don't know what's going on or who the bad guy is until the last episode. Agatha Christie. Agatha Harkness. You know, the writer, she was the bad guy. Like, she shows up in like the last episode. Okay, technically
Kingpin shows up in the last episode.
Kingpin in the last episode. Loki is, he who remains. It's always the last episode. And Star Wars is like, here's the story, here's the premise, here's the characters, here's arcs that you should understand, here's arcs that you might see. We're gonna, that there's something about this character, and that's gonna be our overarching story. So just like, in the first 2 episodes, I was happy. I was like, this is how you do a TV show / limited series. And then the 3rd episode hit, and it just took everything into high gear. I've seen the really, really stupid critiques of the show. That's all just from like Star Wars haters. And
ooh, I have not seen any critiques. You could tell me if my critiques are the same critiques
they
as the
aren't,
haters.
because you're a good human being. Most of them are racist remarks about a strong woman of color.
Oh, really?
How a 10-year-old is
the third
too
sister?
bratty and bitchy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those aren't my critiques.
No, I do, because you're a good human being.
So let me you've offered your reasons of why you like it. You know, it gets right to you get to see the villain right away and stuff. Let me tell you something. Watching Ewan McGregor be like a weak shadow of his former self as Obi Wan is not exactly a pitch or a log line that's going to get me interested in the show. I know it's been 10 years. I know it's been cutting steak. But I mean, can we get this man a fucking Rocky style montage so he can get his skills back? It's kind of cool seeing him, you know, be a blastery type wielder. But man, even his confidence, it's like hard to watch him. And I haven't seen the prequels in a while, but I just remember him being so cool and collected, and like Anakin's jumping out of like speeders or whatever, and he's just like, oh, Anakin, and you don't want to sell me death sticks. He's Jedi mind tricking people, and like that was kind of the Obi-Wan I wanted. Maybe a little less gung-ho, a little older and wiser, but this version of him that's just kind of like old and sad and broken is really not what I was hoping for in an Obi-Wan series.
That is actually a common critique of the show that I've seen, because, you know, people notoriously hate what they did with Luke Skywalker in episode 8. And they're like, why did you do to Obi-Wan the same thing you did to Luke Skywalker? Why'd you make him old, crotchety, and angry? I don't want to rebuttal all of your opinions today, but I do want to tell you when you're wrong.
Okay.
So
go ahead. Yeah, jump in. First of all, you can't tell me I'm wrong because it's my opinion. I said this is
opinions
not,
can be wrong. I feel like
this is
enough
not,
time on the internet has passed.
I said this is not what I wanted to see when I was expecting an Obi-Wan.
Okay, that
serious
is a valid statement.
You can't tell me that statement is wrong, because you're then telling me what I wanted to see. But go on, offer your rebuttal.
Let me mansplain to you. PTSD.
Yeah.
Now, like you're right. Obi-Wan was like this fun, upbeat character, like jumps in front of General Grievous with like 100 battle droids, and it's just like, hello there. Like, yeah, people wanted that memey internet Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
But the last moment that we saw of Obi-Wan Kenobi was him hacking and slashing his best friend, letting him burn in fire after finding out that all of his other friends have been massacred. And the thing that he fought to uphold has been destroyed from within. He was played. And then he goes into hiding. So not only is he dealing with PTSD, not only was like everything just like destroyed in the worst possible way around him, thousands of his friends and people were killed, massacred. And then outside of that, how upbeat do you think you'd be living on the side of on a cliff on a planet with 2 suns?
Yoda lived in the fucking swamp. He also saw all of his friends massacred, and when Luke showed up, he was like, "Hey, what's
crazy.
up, dude? I'm here to party."
Yoda went crazy. Watch episode 5 again.
Well, that was more fun. Weird. That was more fun. I would have preferred he went crazy. But listen, okay, yeah, I get it. But even like older Obi-Wan is kind of like this wise sage dude. He's had 10 years to process. Like, couldn't he be a little further towards...
That's the thing, though. He didn't process. He's stewed and never healed.
Okay,
I think that...
All right, well, if that's what happened, fine. I won't begrudge him or say that he needs to get over it. I will say that's not really the character I wanted to see. But that's not my only critique. And like I said, he's still doing stuff that I think is cool. Like I said, I think it's kind of cool to see him wielding a blaster instead of a lightsaber. Yeah. It's a nice change up.
He's a brawler now.
Yeah, that is.
You like to see the class change.
Yeah, I like to see the class change. It's like he re-rolled as a rogue or something. But that is a critique. That is not my only critique.
Oh,
by
there's more.
far.
Okay.
There's more. Because it's freshest in my mind, I want to jump right to episode 3. I just feel like there's some lazy writing in episode 3.
I got a text message from Lasercorn at like 11 o'clock last night. It's like, Obi-Wan makes me so mad. I was like, oh man, I wonder what he just saw.
So they're they're out in the middle of nowhere on this mining facility, and the stormtroopers know they're looking for a Jedi out at this mining facility, but no one has sent them a description of Obi-Wan, the most wanted, and he doesn't look very different than we last saw him. No one has sent a description of Obi-Wan to any of the stormtroopers. They just get on the transport with the Zach Braff voiced guy, and they're like, hey, we're looking for a Jedi. You're not that Jedi, are you? No, someone else. And he's not Jedi mind tricking him, because he's like not using the Force at all.
He's not attached to the Force.
He's just like, no, dog, not me. And they're like, you sure? Yeah. Okay, we believe you.
It's like, it's funny, those robes you're wearing sure do look like what Jedis wear.
And if I had gotten any type of description, first of all, they should have had, with the technology they have, they should have had a hollow printout of Obi-Wan's face, so they didn't have to bring in a
stormtroopers were out in the middle of nowhere walking to their next location. So yes, as messages are traveling across the galaxy, they've made. You're right. They probably could have gotten a verbal description. They don't have any type of communication device. Old white guy, beard, brown hair, might be seen with young girl.
How is this guy's not like the second sister's like, he's been looking for you for a very long time? How has his face not been plastered on wanted posters everywhere? Like, and if they don't recognize him, why is he even bothering hiding? Like, he could just be walking around anywhere, apparently, if stormtroopers can't even recognize the galaxy's most wanted freaking Jedi.
That's a good plot hole.
It's like It's like him and Yoda, right? Are like, you have to be the Empire's Most Wanted. That's a show. Write it down. Empire's Most Wanted. I'd watch that. But okay,
actually, that's pretty great.
Let's skip past that. They sit down in the thing, and so he has his shitty cover story.
If you would have pulled like what's the Harrison Ford movie? The Fugitive, where he has to shave and we don't get bearded Obi-Wan anymore. That would have been interesting. Maybe he changes his outfit.
He doesn't change his outfit at all. He doesn't dye his hair. He just pulls his cloak up sometimes, which is a total Jedi move. He pulls his Jedi robe up. All right, and then they get on.
It's like, hey, you trying to disguise yourself with a hood? Sounds like something a Jedi would do. Yeah. Are you a Jedi?
And then he doesn't really have a cover story. They're like, they get on the thing and they're like, what are you doing out here? It's a long story. It's a long ride. First of all, you didn't come up with a cover story. Like, you have that very basic bitch cover story, and like Princess Leia has to cover for you. And then he's like, it's a long story. They're like, it's a long ride. And literally about 45 seconds later, they arrive at their destination. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, cut to the Deadpool meme. That's just lazy writing. And then
I think that they definitely wanted to write like that moment from Mando season 2 that everyone absolutely loved with Bill Burr, where it was this high tension moment. Sure. That does feel like that was shoehorned in there.
That was a high tension, awesome, high stakes moment. Yeah. And this did not even come close to that. This was so dumb. Like, dude, that moment was so good. And Mandalorian is, in my opinion, so far above where we're at with Kenobi. And maybe they set the bar too high with Mando. But yeah, that scene was so good. Like, the tension building up.
I think that there's a big difference between what Mando did and what every other Marvel and Star Wars show has done. Mando essentially was an episodic show. Every episode was a different adventure with an overarching story. Everything else Marvel has done and Star Wars has done since then has been very, long form. We're telling a story, and these are just one bits and pieces of that story. It's like a really, really long movie, and I think that's a big difference over Mando versus everything else, and I didn't even think about that until right now.
Yeah. But I'm glad you drew that comparison. I was going to do that if you didn't. Like, Mando did a high tension scene the right way. Just Bill Burr trying to hold back all his anger and frustration at the Empire to keep his cover and then not being able to. Versus Obi-Wan with no disguise and his hastily thrown together story, talking to some faceless
stormtroopers. It's like in the middle of nowhere on this mining planet. It's like, what family? What farmers? Where did you come from?
It just felt like so much. The writing was so much lazier, and then the laser fence. Just go around it. Just go around the laser fence. Do you know what I'm talking about at the checkpoint?
Oh, he turns it off and then just walks through?
He has to shoot it to turn it off and walks through. But literally, it would have taken him going 2 steps to the right to just walk around.
I don't know why he didn't just take the car.
Well, so the laser fence was like meant to stop vehicles, and like I get that you weren't going to be able to go around it, but please, editor Paco, show us still the fucking laser fence and how easy it would have been to walk around. There's no like obstacles to the side of the laser fence preventing a person from just walking around it, and then he shoots it to shut it down.
It wasn't even like a cool like hero moment of just like nonchalantly just like shoots it and walks through. Hits the button a couple times like can't get this thing to turn off.
So dumb. And then like that, if we were naming episodes, this episode should have been named Go Around, because then later in the episode and we put a spoiler alert on all of these.
We're talking about the laser fence. Okay, yeah, spoilers.
No, because I'm gonna draw back a correlation. And then so he's got to deal with this laser fence that's not a real obstacle, and then we get the fire blocking Darth Vader from getting to Obi-Wan when like he had literally just used the Force to suppress a fire moments earlier. It was very frustrating. And then this slow-moving loader droid is like saving Obi-Wan while Darth Vader just stares at him, and like the stormtroopers are like, I can't see. Let me tell you quickly. Okay. Let me run down 3 different ways that Vader could have dealt with this fire. A, use the Force to suppress the fire like he did earlier. B, if the stormtroopers don't want to go through, fucking force grab a stormtrooper, throw him through. Be like, take out that droid. 3, use the Force to force jump over the fire like we see in like every... I don't know if we've seen Vader force jump in the movies or shows, but
he's done it in the comics.
We definitely seen it in the comics. We've definitely seen it. I've seen you force jump quite a bit as Vader in Battlefront. There's a million... Call in air support to spot the guy. You're really going to let him escape this guy you've been chasing for 10 years?
100% are going to let him go.
With the fucking loader droid? Oh my god.
Yes, you're 100% going to let him go for 2 reasons.
Okay.
1, it is this cat and mouse game. It's this huge power play. It is ego and hubris at its finest. But also, you let the bait go so that you see where he's going, so you can take down the rest of who's on his side. You take down the rest of the Jedi. You take down the rest of the people that are smuggling people out. He's going to get him again. Like he's in his head. You let him go. It's bad guy 101. Best bad guy 101? Maybe not. But I think that move is a little bit more...
Seems really corny. Can't he just capture him and then torture the information, or try to torture the information out of him?
It's the same reason why he let Luke go.
Yeah, well, Luke's his son. Luke, he actually wanted to survive. He wanted him to join him.
With Obi-Wan's
he hates
brain.
Obi-Wan.
He wants to live... But it's also been 10 years. Obi-Wan has not trained. He's gotten weak. He's gotten angry. His hubris is no longer his downfall. He's taking a very different approach mentally against Obi-Wan. And I think that we'll see that in the next 3 episodes. I think that there's some critiques that I don't like, because like people have had about Moses' character, the third sister, because they're like, oh, why does she know about Anakin? Why does she seem so emotional? Why? Because it's part of this larger story, and I think we're going to see that. There's a line that is no longer in New Hope that doesn't make sense, that people have gotten upset about. It's when Darth Vader finds Obi-Wan on the Death Star, and he's like, last we fought, you were the master, and I was merely a learner, or whatever. And that was not this fight. In this fight, Vader was clearly the master, and Obi-Wan was weak.
Yeah.
So I think like there's this arc that we still need to see, where we're gonna understand why he let him go, why he's following him.
And honestly, maybe it would have made more sense. Not like, I know everyone wants to see it, but is having them go lightsaber to lightsaber just fan service? If that's not how it happened, and they're like, last time we fought, I was just a Padawan. Should their fight on Mustafar have been their last like canon fight before they meet 100%, again?
100%. And it probably should have been,
and it would have made more sense, especially with how like overpowered, especially with Obi Wan being able to escape just not making sense, and you have to put it down to.
I think Obi Wan. I'm sorry. I think having Darth Vader in this series is purely fan service, and to have Hayden Christensen come back for, you know, sure. All right.
I don't even disagree with that. Like having Vader trying to like killing civilians and stuff, trying to mentally break Obi-Wan to lure him out. All that stuff makes sense. But then you get into the direct confrontation and where they're going lightsaber to lightsaber, and that really just seems like fan service. If you're going to have Vader, it doesn't make sense in terms of the canon, and it doesn't make sense in terms of like, if you have them get into that situation, you then have to write your way out of that situation in a way that is not believable. Vader should be like a Thanos level bad guy, especially where he's killing people. Yeah. He's killing people. He's snapping necks, and it's strictly to fuck with Obi-Wan, where he's like, "You did this. You left me alive, and now I'm going to kill everyone in this city, and then send the third sister after you because, you know, then you get a lightsaber fight." But again, and again, I'm going to criticize them drastically depowering, you know, Obi-Wan by not having him keep up with any training or anything. They've essentially written themselves into a corner by being like, we have to have this fan service of them going lightsaber to lightsaber, but we want to keep Obi-Wan really depowered, so we have to come up with increasingly implausible ways he can like escape. Yeah. And like, I liked like. Here's the thing.
I think now we're going to get the Rocky montage, though.
We need to now. But here's the thing. I really liked him turning and running. And I'm like, okay, if he had actually escaped there, like I would have felt much better about it.
I think the internet fans or Star Wars people would have come out and be like, oh, you can just run away from Vader now? I guess he's not that big and powerful.
Well, but he is. Unless you get some kind of line. Cat and mouse a little bit there, yeah.
Where like third sister shows up. It's like, no, don't follow him.
But him running away and escaping when he's slightly at a distance is more believable to me than the fire escape, the slow loading droid fire escape.
Yeah, it's like, we're no longer on, you no longer have the high ground, we're on the same level. And he's like, yes, but I'm far away. Runs.
I don't know, man. I just, I have criticisms. I'm not feeling it.
At least your critiques, and I think this stops you from liking a lot of stuff that you should just enjoy. But I do appreciate that you look at things from this perspective. It's always from a writer's perspective. It's like, you clearly had this moment, like, all right, we just need this to happen, and we don't have a logical way to do it, so it just happens this way. Which, admittedly, the more I kind of listen to, like, you know, writers' room podcasts and stuff, the more I find out that people hate that person in the room, and that person doesn't get jobs again, where they're like, well, logically this doesn't make sense.
That person needs to get some jobs because it annoys me.
Yeah. I will always allow you to be that person in our writer's room.
But just enjoy it is like such a cop-out, isn't it, though? Just enjoy it. It's like, oh, well.
I like I said before, I am thoroughly enjoying the show. I thought that, like, in my head, I think Star Wars has always been that, from literally releasing A New Hope and it saying chapter 4, like, or episode 4, like, it's always been, you have to fill in the blanks because they aren't giving you the whole story at once. I think it's so on par with that.
Why are you enjoying it? Just because you got to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader go lightsaber?
No, it's not even the fan service part. I did think that Vader was done very well here. I think that he was menacing. I think he was terrifying. I think that we're seeing why he's like, him just going through and snapping people's necks to get the Jedi to kind of like come out. I think that is who Darth Vader is, so I think that's done well. The character fall from grace that we've seen Obi-Wan, and now we're see where he's at. He's trying to reach Qui-Gon, but he can't. So he's going to tap back into the Force. He's going to get to that power level. We'll get Qui-Gon. I'm sure we'll get that cameo, and we'll get the Rocky montage. So we'll see him become.
You really like watching him struggle to contact Qui-Gon? This is anything.
Yeah.
I will say I agree that Vader is done well, but we've in Rogue One we've seen scary Vader. Like, it's
but people. want
I
more of that. I want more of that.
I would have preferred more cat and mouse, where Vader is destroying the people that Obi-Wan cares about.
I agree with you. I think that would have been how you and I would have written this show, where it's like he's messing with his mind just to break him, and then he'll break him physically. I love that he dragged him through the fire. Like that was great.
That was cool. That was a cool moment. But again, that sets up that now I really feel like they wrote himself into a corner. They're like, so he's dragging him through the fire. It's like, now we need a way for him to escape. How about another fire and the slow loading droid come? Like, I really feel like the writers were just like at a loss as to where to go from there, and they just came up with whatever situation they felt like ends the episode with him escaping.
It would have been just as easy to have, because again, this is an Imperial based planet now, where it used to be luscious and a prospering planet. They could have easily had like the farmers attack, right, or like that town, like rebels of this town try to attack, because you see a lot of that in the novels and the comics.
I like that better. They're mad and like this is the, Joven, you've just done a better job of writing that episode than the actual writers. So let's back up. Vader had just gone into town indiscriminately killing people, and and then went off chasing Obi Wan. You could have cut back to the town. They could have been like, "My God, she's dead. We gonna take this? The Empire's gone too far." They get literal. I would have loved to see like a literal pitchfork or a laser pitchfork or whatever the equivalent. And they come in, they hit the stormtroopers and Vader from behind during that scene where he's kind of on the other side of the fire. Vader has to turn to deal with this villager onslaught. Then
we get to see Vader slaughter innocent people.
That's better than what they wrote. Like I'm saying, man, I just feel like
there's
lazy
the title
writing.
Of the episode, how we would have written, how we would have changed Obi Wan.
It took us in a half-hour podcast. I feel like we came up with a better, a more well-written episode than what we saw. I feel like there's some lazy writing in here, and I feel like you're on like kind of an adrenaline high from seeing these characters and stuff. I have this feeling, Joven, if you go back and watch this like 6 months to a year from now, I really want, and maybe that's an episode of this podcast, I really wonder if this stuff is going to hold up for you. Because, man,
that's a good point.
I just feel like it's lazy.
That's, maybe. There are things, like the things that I love most about this really do come down to the story structure, the depiction of characters, the arcs that they're setting up. It's not like, genius writing or anything, but which who knows how the next episodes turn out. I love little Leia, and I honestly don't know if I'm going to throw the card in there, but like maybe it's just because I'm a dad, and like in episode 1, her talking to her adopted dad, which is Bail Organa. And like I was holding my baby watching this, and I was like, "Oh, this is so sweet." And just like her character, I'm like, I see it. Like she becomes Princess Leia 100%, like hands down.
Yeah, and you get to see kind of that character development where these two characters get some time to bond, so that it makes sense. Where help us, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. That line makes sense. She's this symbol of hope to him because she rescued him. Yeah, that's good. Like I wish they had kept that attention to detail and like. That happens in the original trilogy with the lines about confrontation between him and Vader.
Where do you think they're gonna go though in the next 3 episodes?
Where do I think they're gonna go?
Yeah, because like you said, they've kind of put themselves in a corner. There is a very famous line from A New Hope where it's like, "Last we fought, you were the master, I was but a learner." So they can still make that make sense. Yeah, so where they're gonna go, judging by that and just kind of the general trajectory, it seems obvious that there's gonna be some kind of training montage where he gets back in touch with the Force, and then he becomes the master once again, and he teaches Vader another lesson that's going to end in, like, obviously, because both these characters have invincible plot armor, because of who they are, it's going to end in another stalemate, but maybe that is something I think that they do well, though, is these characters that we know have plot armor, I'm worried about them.
I'm not. I feel like it's
obviously
very
I don't think they're going to die, but, like, I don't know, Obi-Wan's getting dragged through fire. I was like, it's going down.
I feel like it's very low stakes when they're fighting. Like, it's cool to see Vader like getting the upper hand and dragging him through fire and stuff, but it does feel low stakes.
In the dark desert, the blue and red lights, aesthetically looked great.
Which is why, again, bring it back. I think it should have been more cat and mouse, and like, we should have seen Vader going after. You could have Obi-Wan establish connections with people, and then have Vader, destroy those people, and that's a good way to have it be higher stakes. It's like, oh no, is Vader going to get this person that Obi-Wan cares about?
The writing has issue. I will say Deborah Chow is one of my favorite directors from The Mandalorian. She does the whole series in this one. I think the direction is great. I think that how she makes very silly moments, like, that caravan ride where they're just like, I think it's shot well. There is, I think that the tension is there. It's no Bill Burr scene form of tension because it was earned. But I think that her direction and her working with the script is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't have a problem with the direction necessarily. I feel like the best that can be done is being done with that script. But you know what? I'm gonna have to look. Who's writing this? It's definitely. I feel like this can't be the same writers as the people who wrote Mandalorian, because I'd be like, God, how far they've fallen. Or are they?
I don't know. I do know that Ewan McGregor is an executive producer on this. But
how much control does
one of the writers on it? I know Filoni and Favreau are also executive producers, and they normally do the writing. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to look it up. And if we do another episode on this, I will definitely know.
Unless Deborah Chow is the showrunner as well and directing, but that's a lot of work for a showrunner.
But okay, so we're bumping heads on this one a little bit.
I agree with your story points. I was ready to argue your things that you didn't like from a logical point of view, but I was like, oh no, I didn't think about it. Like you normally do. You've brought up some very valid points that I did not think about. And now I'm stuck thinking about them.
Yeah. You want to know what I wish? I wish this show had come out before The Mandalorian, because I liked The Mandalorian so much that I think it has given me unrealistic expectations of what a Star Wars show can be.
Yeah, Mandalorian from day one, I was like, if this was the first thing ever of Star Wars, if there was no Luke Skywalker saga, if it all started in, 2018, 2019, whatever it was, with the first episode of Mandalorian, I think 40 years from now, Star Wars to be just as popular because of Mandalorian.
Yeah, it hooked me from episode 1. It was really great.
They just do a great job with episodic stories, and nothing since then has been that. Do you think that Obi-Wan is so far better than... Do you think Star Wars shows are better or Marvel shows are better on Disney Plus?
Man, it really depends. I don't think the show's better than Hawkeye or really even Loki. It's definitely better than WandaVision, but I disliked WandaVision.
We also have to compare it to just like the first 3 episodes of each one of those shows. You can't compare it to like the full story.
The first 3 of Hawkeye, I loved the first. I loved Hawkeye all the way through. I
loved that you just love the Avengers musical so much that you're like, this series is great.
That opening scene set the whole tone of this dude being over it, and this dude that was in the greatest battles, talking about how like that's not even how it happened, and then you take this dude and force him to go to cosplay. Be like, what Thanos? Like the whole vibe. It was such a fucking vibe, and I loved it. I loved it all the way through.
It's your old man vibe.
Yeah, and Loki set up the multiverse, so like I really appreciated that, and I just love Tom Hiddleston in that role. So yeah. This is just not as good to me. It's better than WandaVision.
Maybe we'll come back in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll come back in a couple weeks and we'll see how the second half of Obi-Wan did, and just a little retrospective.
Here's what I'll say about Obi-Wan. It is not irredeemable. It can have a strong second half of the game here, and it could bring me back and make me a believer, but I'm definitely not there yet. And that about wraps it up for this episode of Squirrel Punch here on the OGSoG channel. Guys, did you know if you want to support this here OGSoG channel with the OGSoG podcast and also Squirrel Punch, we have a Patreon. Links right in the description. Check it out. Some great tiers here. And you can even have your name listed at the end of one of these episodes like you're about to see right now. So that's one of the tiers. Check it out. Also, as well as extended cuts of the OGSoG podcast is one of the tiers. A lot of great stuff, and it helps us bring you more awesome content just like this. So do check that out. And yeah, Joven, this has been a lot of fun, and here's to many great future conversations.
Squirrel Punch!
Squirrel Punch! And remember, what you're seeing here on YouTube is only part of the podcast. For the full podcast and all the stories and all the topics from that podcast, you're going to need to go to Patreon. And only there can you unlock the full episodes of the OGSoG podcast. So please go do that. Give it at least a check out, a looky-loo, and let us know what you think. Okay.
OGSoG wants you.